So we'll see how this thing plays out right now. From the Ukraine, it is Olga Puliak.
And she's calling for a back full. That's a double twisting, double backflip. Highest maximum score for this particular jump is a 94.5. Looking good in the air and nailed the landing. She's happy about that. She came down, arms up. Little celebration. Great takeoff. Looking at it the whole way through. That's what's so nice about the full twisting backflip, is that she can get her eyes on the landing the entire time so that she knows exactly where she's going to lay down the landing gear.
She can stick it. Now, you saw earlier on some of the pictures, it was snowing a little bit. That has dissipated a touch, but what the snow does is it makes for an interesting situation. Not so much in the landing, but in the takeoff in terms of speed to the kicker, as well as visibility in the air.
Yeah, the athletes want to have identical speed from one jump to the next, from one round to the next. And so what they do is they talk to their coaches. There's a coach on the in run as well as a coach on the knoll to make sure that they have the perfect speed coming into these kickers.
All right, so Olga's going to stand by and see if that score of 76.23 holds. A couple of different kicker options that have different height gradients as well as distances. We're going to see a lot of the skiers today going off of jump number 2.
Yeah, especially with the women, they're going to be hitting jumper 2 quite a bit because that's the double kicker. So that's the jump that you would go off of in order to perform a double backflip. And Laura Peel is calling for a full. So this again is a double twisting, double backflip. Laura Peel is only 25 years old, part of a young resurging Australian aerials group. Oh, and she was really big in the air. She had her hands above her head trying to stretch out her flips as much as possible. And she went right on by. The crowd appreciates the fact that she got back up and skied away from that, but that's going to crush her on her landing score. Landing is 30% of your total score. In air form is 50%. Takeoff is 20% of the total score. She has a nice straight body line while she's in the air. Nice and tall, but you see her hands way above her head, and she knows that she's big. And so as a result, she throws her hands up above her head to try and elongate her body as much as she possibly can in an attempt to take it to her feet. But she just had way too much speed coming into it.
Got up and came down, no problem there. She's used to it. She's got a background in gymnastics. Started aerial skiing because she loved to flip, but also loved to ski. So might as well combine the both, and that's pretty much what aerial skiing is.
Yeah, she's part of a strong heritage of Australian women. It goes way back to Kirsty Marshall. Alyssa Camplin was an Olympic gold medalist, is an Olympic gold medalist. Jackie Cooper, Lydia Lassila, the current Olympic gold medalist. So there's a very strong heritage of women's jumpers in Australia.
Yeah, it's huge for her for sure. 53.58 puts her into second place.
And it's another Australian, and her name is Samantha Wells.
All right, so Laura Peel standing by to see what that score does for her. Going to go ahead and guess that won't be quite enough, but we'll see. Anything can happen at the moment as we go back up for Samantha Wells, another Australian, 24 years old. She was 17th in Beta Lake, 23rd in Beijing.
So you saw Samantha take a step down. She had the advantage of seeing her teammate go and go way by with a lot of speed. So Samantha took a step down on the in run, slowed down her speed on the in run, and that in turn decreased the amplitude that she had so that she could nail it right to her feet. So the top qualifiers have the advantage of checking the speed of all the athletes prior to them. Really good takeoff for Samantha Wells. You want to be perpendicular to the jump all the way off. That jump is 65 degrees off the tip of the kicker. Eyes on the landing the whole time. Arms steering her way through the jump. She wheelied a little bit on the landing. That'll hurt her slightly on her landing scores.
Now calculating the score.
But most of the score comes from the in-air form, and that was excellent.
One of the things we mentioned was the strong heritage of Australians in this sport. Well, she was a former level gymnast as well. She had some injuries, but she was recruited by Jackie Cooper to aerial skiing to kind of get in there, get involved, and not a bad lady to be pulling for you.
Absolutely. And Samantha Wells already had a background in skiing, and then she was a phenomenal gymnast, so I think it was a pretty easy sell for Jackie Cooper, but a good sell nevertheless, especially for the Australians, because she's a solid jumper.
79.06 puts Samantha Wells out in front.
So keep in mind that for that full, the maximum score is a 94.5 on that jump.
All right, back up now for the Chinese ladies. Zhang Xin. She's tied for the overall World Cup lead right now with 256.
She's called for a full double full. Or excuse me, double full. She's the current World Cup leader. She has that yellow bib.
Yeah, clean.
Very clean. Part of a very strong Chinese women's jumping squad.
That was amazing. She's right there. A very difficult trick. That right there.
Watch, she has that arm up, wraps up double full, gets out of it a little bit late, but then she's looking at for the landing. Pretty big compression on the landing. Double full, she's throwing a 720 on that very first flip, and then a 360 on that second flip.
She's coming off of a third place at the last event that was in Val St. Côme. She has one gold so far this season. That came in Beijing. She's got that 256 points. Again, she is tied for the lead with Lee Nina. Lee Nina will be coming up in a couple of jumpers. We'll see her. So a competition within a competition going on right here as those globes are up for grabs. Qualification for the Olympic teams are up for grabs, and a long hold here for Zhang Xin as she awaits the score.
She wants to hold on to that yellow bib after today because that will secure a crystal globe for her. She's already looking good to go to the Olympics. Now she wants to wrap up another title, World Cup title.
All right, an 89.18. So Zhang Xin out into the lead, and she sets the bar. God, do I love that town. Sabrina Guerin from Canada. She is next to jump, currently ranked 16th in the world. Doesn't really have a shot at a crystal globe, but Olympic implications on the line for her. It's just about dialing things in right now as the games are just about 2 weeks away.
And for some of these competitors, it's been a little bit of a guessing game for the speed. You can see that Sabrina took a step up to try and get the right speed. Has to pull her knees in a little bit. She should not have done so. If she would have stayed nice and tall throughout that entire jump, she would have had better spacing in the air so that she could have taken it down to her feet much better. You can see the disappointment on her face. Coming into the jump, she has a preset takeoff, both her hands above her head. She has her eyes on the landing, but you see her bring her knees in right there. That speeds up her flip rotation. She's looking at the landing. She picks that up nicely with her vision, but she brought her knees in too much, and then she realized it at the last second and does a big slap back. We call that a slap back. They chop the hill very well. So the course workers are out there constantly maintaining this course, so it doesn't hurt that bad when they slap back like that. Now, yeah, if you're coming from 40 or 50 feet up in the air and your feet don't even touch the ground, yeah, that's going to hurt. But when you hit your feet first and then you slap back, sometimes athletes will try and bring their arms in so it lessens the impact, jostling the organs a little less. But for the most part, it's not too bad of an impact because of the preparation on the landing hill. Plus, the landing hill is a steep 37 degrees, and that in and of itself also lessens the impact on the body.
It takes the absorption right away. So a 45.67 puts her in that fourth spot right now.
So as a competitor and looking at the qualifications, you're thinking that you want to be in the 90s to make it on to the super final where they take the top four. So right now only Zhang Xin, the Chinese athlete's looking good with an 89.18. She has the score to beat.
Cheng Shuang from China is next up, a 3.525 degree of difficulty, sitting currently down in the 5th spot in the overall world rankings with 171 points. Basically what you have right now is essentially there's about 3 to 4 athletes who can really contend for that globe. Zhang Jin, Li Nina, Lydia Lasalia, and Zhu Mengtao of China are all the ones who are kind of in the hop right now for that globe, for the overall.
Chang Shuang certainly in the hunt. Wraps up double full, a little bit of a split on the landing. But the judges aren't going to notice that quite as much as any sort of compression, because the judges are on the side of the landing hill. So she did have a bit of a compression that'll slightly affect her landing, but she had a great in-air jump. Wraps up double full, finishes up. Not great separation, and by separation I mean that the judges want to see the 720 complete by the time she's finished. And when she was upright finishing her first flip, she was off to the side a little bit still. She wanted to be facing straight down the hill, finishing up that 720 off the first flip so that she could set up then for the 360 in the second flip.
She had a 7th at the Olympic Games in Vancouver and was the world champion back in 2011, coming away with gold in Deer Valley. She's awaiting her score right now as the leader remains Zhang Jin from China, who opened up with a pretty nice jump, really looked clean, stuck the landing. Also, one thing that we can talk about is how this is judged. What you're going to notice is some lines through some of the scores, and that's part of how they determine what you're coming away with.
Exactly. So there are the judges out there. They have 10 points total to disperse through the athletes. 20% takeoff, 50% in air form, 30% is the landing. They throw out the high and low, and then they multiply the remaining. Well, they add the remaining scores and then multiply that by the degree of difficulty. So, for instance, for that triple twisting double backflip the Chang Shuang just threw, the maximum score would have been a 105.75 because of the degree of difficulty.
Okay, and she comes away with an 84.24, which puts her in the 2nd spot, as Daniel Scott from Australia is throwing down now up at the top. She is currently at 10th in the overall world rankings. She had a bronze at the World Championships last year.
She's throwing a double twisting, double backflip, so not the degree of difficulty that we've seen out of the Chinese competitors. Oh no, she wraps up double full. So she did step it up, and I like that call. If you want to advance to the next round, make sure that you're in the hunt. And so she did a good job with that. Not only that, you want to refine your tricks, and you want to know that they're going to score if you make it to Sochi.
And you can make that call before you take off from the start area.
That's exactly right. So she wraps up double full. She has a little bit of a different style from some of the other competitors. You can see her right hand come behind her head as she wraps up double full. Watch her hands. They go back behind her head. You see a lot of divers do that. That's not a deduction. It's just a style variation. And I think that's cool because it makes her stand out to the judges more than someone that just puts your arms down by her side and does the more traditional freestyle aerials type of form.
Another recruit from the legendary Australian aerial skier, the 5-time Olympian Jackie Cooper. Daniel Scott's been throwing it down really since she began. The 24-year-old in only her 2nd full international season back when she was there, made the finals in all 6 World Cups before that breakthrough bronze in 2013 in Voss, Norway. But she is an absolute competitor, and she's rewarded for it. So there you go. You called it. You change that up at the top. You throw something in, and it works for you. A 91.29 for Daniel Scott.
So she's feeling pretty good about going into the super final where they take the top 4. But you know what? There's still a lot of great competitors yet to come. And now the athletes are really starting to lay it to their feet. So it'll be interesting to see if that holds up and gets her into the super final.
All right, we've said it a few times, but Li Nina is tied with Zhang Jin for that lead in the overall World Cup, and this being the final event with 256 points. So this is huge right now. Zhang Jin had an 89.18.
And she's throwing a triple twisting double backflip, just as Zhang Jin did.
Right now, Li Nina just needs to get into that top 4 that's advancing.
Ooh, and she really nailed her landing. Excellent in-air form. You can pretty much say that just about every time a Chinese athlete leaves the jump. Great in-air form. That's pretty standard. But she really, really nailed her landing. And this Chinese team is just so deep. There are so many great competitors, especially on the women's team. You see she wraps up her double full, takes a look at the landing, and sets up nicely for it. Full, double full, that's where she wraps up the 720 in that second flip. Absolutely nails her landing. There are 5 female Chinese athletes in the top 6 world rankings right now. That's how deep the Chinese are. And it seems like they've got several more that can compete at any different level, at any given level.
And that really comes from their acrobatic background. They put a high importance on this sport in China, and that's why you see them up in those high rankings. So the 2-time Olympic silver medalist from 2006 and 2010, they call her the Snow Princess, and she's out in front with a 93.76.
Hello. Yeah, I think that's justified. I mean, she stomped her landing, excellent in-air form. That's the new mark to beat, but there are some athletes coming up that we might see some triples out of where there's much higher degree of difficulty.
Xu Mengtao is next, the 24-year-old from China. She's in the hunt as well, currently sitting 4th in the overall rankings with 196 points. So a lot of math is going to come into play depending on where Zheng Jin and Li Nina place, but for an athlete like Xu Mengtao, it's got to be the absolute best right now if she hopes for a spot up there.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's one of the first competitors that we're going to see of the evening throwing a triple backflip. And she's going to be going off of kicker number 5. Kicker number 5 is 14 feet tall. She's going to be taking about 40 miles an hour into that humongous kicker, where it has about 71 degrees of an incline at the very top. You can see that Xu Mengtao took a step up. They're watching very closely the speeds here. If you have consistent speeds, then you can control as an athlete all the other variables. You can control your takeoff. You control your in-air form. So you want to make sure that you got a good handle on the speed as well. Lay full, and that was beautiful. I think we're going to see a new leader, not only in terms of the degree of difficulty, but that in-air form was excellent. She's feeling it too. Excellent takeoff, stays perpendicular to the jump. Totally laid out, straight as a pencil, in the air, feet locked together. A little bit, she pulled her feet through just a touch, but I mean, that's being really nitpicky. The in-air form is phenomenal. Great control. Wheelies out of it, just a slight bit. That's going to be the only deduction for her. We're going to see a pretty big score here.
Li Nina has the 93.76. That's the score to beat right now. Taking the top 4. The possible score for her is 114, 104.08 for Xu Mengtao. Puts her into first.
No surprise here. I mean, she's jumping so well in general, and that jump in particular was phenomenal. And I like how a lot of the ladies are really stepping it up with their degree of difficulty, throwing triple backflips. That's huge.
So 2 Americans coming up now. You've got Emily Cook and you've got Ashley Caldwell. Let's talk about their Olympic implications right now.
So Ashley Caldwell already has a top 3. If she gets a top 3 here, she's pretty much a lock. Emily Cook has a top 5. She really needs a good, solid result, because keep in mind that these aerialists are not only competing with each other, they're competing with slopestyle athletes, mogul skiers, all the other freestyle disciplines to try and get one of 26 Olympic spots. This is Emily Cook right here. And the crowd goes wild. They love it. I love it. Nice full, double full. She does a 360 on the first backflip, 720 on the second backflip. Nails the landing. Doesn't have the degree of difficulty that we saw out of Xu Mengtao, but a very nice looking jump. And the hometown crowd loves it. She has the preset takeoff, both of her arms up above her head. Stalled out the flip just a little bit. Had to keep working it, but she does it nicely. A little bit of a knee bend as she brings down the landing gear. But you know what? The most important thing is to make sure that you land it and ski out of it. That's huge. If you have to do a little bit of an in-air form break, it's going to be worth it to stomp it to your feet. And Matt Saunders, one of her coaches, is fired up.
Emily Cook puts a little bit of pressure on Ashley Caldwell, who's next up at the top.
Last year here, she was 3rd place. She likes Lake Placid.
Well, an 88.47 does not put her in that top 4 right now.
So a little bittersweet. A little bittersweet for Emily Cook.
And that takes us to Ashley Caldwell from the United States. She will be going off of kicker number 4. Degree of difficulty is a 3.8.
So she's calling for a triple backflip. This is a lay full. So she'll lay out the first flip, and then she'll do a 360 in each of the last 2 flips. Matt Saunders gives her the go-ahead. Arms up above her head. Looks like she slung it a little bit. Oh! She didn't do the jump that she called. Her feet slipped right out from under her, and so this will be a run not scored. You have to perform the jump that you call, otherwise you will not receive a score. And she just threw it right off the tip of the jump. It looks like she slung it. Her feet really accelerated off the tip of the jump. Watch her feet and she buckled. She buckled. So when you buckle, it's the exact opposite of slinging. You come into it with some serious G-forces, and when you hit the tip of that kicker that's 71 degrees, sometimes it's difficult to hang on. And so what happened was she had no rotation going into her first kicker, or her first flip, and so she just had to bring it straight over. That's extremely disappointing for Ashley Caldwell.
Well, and unfortunate as well for Olympic implications as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she really needed a good result here. The last World Cup prior to the Olympics, she has a 2nd place in China, one of the season openers that occurred over there in China. But, oh, man, that's going to put her down towards the bottom of the pack of 12 here in this round.
She was 10th at the 2010 games, was hoping for another bid after she really stormed onto the scene. So a difficult result for Ashley Caldwell. Zhu Sekun from China is 13th right now in the overall world rankings, and at the lower end of a very talented Chinese team.
This just goes to prove how much depth the Chinese has. She's only 21 years old. She's only been in 15 World Cup starts, but she has 2 World Cup podiums. Lay full tuck by Zhu Sekun. And she's smiling with that jump.
The lay full tuck. I think we all know a big round.
So this is a twist and triple. This is a variation of what they call the blaster. Lays out the very first flip. Looks at it, gets into the full. A little bit of a form break in the full right there. She starts to get into the tuck really early. The judges want to see better separation. At that time, she kind of blended her 2nd and 3rd flips together. But you know what? She's got degree of difficulty on her side with that triple backflip.
Waiting for the scores. 5 judges.
Here's the score for Zhu Sekun from China. It's an 85.40. So that is not enough to get her into that top 4. So Xumeng Tao out in front. Li Nina, Daniel Scott, and Zhang Xin are your top 4. Emily Cook just outside in 5th, and Ashley Caldwell, the American, finishes in 11th. The men are next. From Switzerland will start things off for the men.
He's calling for a lay double full. This is a triple twisting, triple backflip, where he does a layout on the first, a 720 on the 2nd flip, and another 360 on the last flip. So for the guys, you're thinking that you've got to be in the 120-point range in order to make it onto the round of 4. Good way to start off today's men's competition, or tonight's men's competition, more like it. Absolutely nailed his landing.
The World Cup picture overall for the men exists as Lu Zhongqing of China out in front with 228. Anton Kushner of Belarus is really in 2nd with 217. So those are who you're looking at for globes for the men.
Nice and penciled out in the air. Wrapped up his double full in the middle flip. And absolutely nails that landing. 125.25 is the maximum possible point total for that jump. It'll probably be in the 110 range, 112, 13-ish.
107.29 for Misha Gasser.
But I like him more than the judges, apparently.
And you're entitled to that opinion. No one's going to fault you for that, Craig.
You know, judging is such a difficult job. It's thankless. Usually you end the day and there's really only one person that's extremely happy with how you did.
Exactly. Liu Zhongqing from China. He is your World Cup leader with 228 points. He's got 2 gold medals so far this season in Valsade Combe as well as in Beta Lake to open up the season. So first event of the year and the last event to date where he's come away with golds in. He's also the bronze medalist in 2010.
He's going to be performing a full, double full. This is a variation of a quad twisting triple backflip. He also has in his quiver a full, double full, which is more difficult than any other quad because you're throwing your 720 in the last flip. Ooh, nice looking jump. Came down, totally nailed his landing. He's trying to get the crowd behind him. Give me some crowd points. Come on, come on. No, that was a beautiful jump, though. He should be ecstatic about that. Great takeoff. Locked out the whole time. Good timing. Wraps up the double full. Good separation. He's facing downhill. Right as he finishes up that second flip, that's where people start to blend it together in between the second and third flip. Watch this. After he finishes up this flip, he should be facing us, and he is. So that's great separation. Good in-air form. He could compress a little bit less on the landing, but I'll tell you what, when you're coming down from 50 feet up in the sky, it's hard not to compress a bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, oh, wow, 124.78 for him. I agree with you. I mean, you are moving and you are flipping hard. You're going to compress a little on that landing. But a 124.78, very nice score for him to put him out in front. He is looking to come out of Placid with the crystal globe.
And that set a large mark for the rest of the athletes to try and hit. Sometimes, if the athletes are having difficulty stomping their jumps, they might back off on the degree of difficulty. Well, now they see something like that, and they're thinking, in order to make it to the next round, I'm going to have to nail this jump. So Michael Rossi, U.S., implications for him. He really needs a result here. Double full. It's so difficult to get that 720 in the first flip when you're going off that kicker because you're a quarter of the way through the flip right when you go off of the kicker.
He likes it.
He made it look smooth, sweet, and buttery. He's got some people there to cheer him on. Family in the crowd. Watch him wrap up the double full. Brings down the landing gear. Minor form break as he comes down to the ground. Watch his knees as he finishes up the flip right here. He has to bend his knees in order to bring it around. He does wheelie out of it a little bit as well. But you know what? This landing is getting so soft and sugary. It's better to be wheeling out of the jump than it is to be really forward. Because if you're forward on the landing, you're going to do what they call a punch front, where you basically land and do a front flip.
So a 111.31 from Michael Rossi puts him into second place behind Liu Zhongqing. Australia, currently 5th in the overall World Cup rankings. He's got 158 points. The leader is at 228. It'd be very difficult for him to overtake that overall spot, but talk about a veteran.
He's going to be chucking a full, double full. We've been seeing a lot of that in this round. Ooh, and I like it. His heart was beating after that one, but you know what? Pretty much whenever you go off a jump that's 14 feet tall and launch 50 feet up in the air, your heart's going to be beating anyway.
While spinning and flipping with the ground rapidly approaching, yeah. If it doesn't get your heart going, there's something wrong. And the snow's falling, by the way.
He did a good job of taking that to his feet.
Lu Zhongqing is your leader right now with a 124.78 from China. He was the second one to go. He's put the number up right now. They will advance 4 from the round of 12, 106.20. Doesn't agree with that exactly.
No, he doesn't, and I think that's justified. I would have thought that he would have been another 6, 7, 8 points higher than that, but we'll see what the judges do with the rest of the competitors. He still could be in the hunt. So here's a look at the current jump in the lead with Lu Zhongqing. And you're going to have to be big.
Again, out of this round of 12, the top 4 advancing. You see who they currently are right now. The American, Michael Rossi, is in that hunt, currently sitting in 3rd. However, we'll go back up now to the 34-year-old from Belarus. This is Alexei Grishin.
Alexei Grishin, the veteran, won in Vancouver. And you know what?
Salt Lake.
Sorry, Nick. You know, he's been throwing high degree of difficulty in the small final, and then he's had to back off because he's running out of tricks in the quiver for the super final. So one of the things that Grishin really needs to do is make sure that he absolutely nails his jumps, because he has very little margin for error. Wrapping up the double full. He looks great in the air, and he totally nailed his landing. Look at a nice straight body line throughout. He brings his arms in for that double full. Very, very minor form break to bring down the landing gear, but man, that was one of the best landings that we have seen so far with that quad twisting triple backflip.
At 34 years old and a 2-time Olympic medalist, how many more Olympics does he have in him? With a 122.13 to put him into 2nd place.
Boy, that's with a 4-year cycle. It'd be tough to compete at this level when you're 38 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, aerialists do have a lot of longevity. Some of them can compete pretty late, but boy, 34 years old is pushing it now, let alone in another 4 years.
34 years old, Olympic champion Alexei Grishin to the 25-year-old American Dylan Ferguson, who was named to the 2010 Olympic team, but had an appendectomy that was infected from surgery, and he missed the games. So he very badly wants a result here that is going to allow him to go to Sochi to make up for what he missed in 2010.
No question. No question. And he's got a top 5. He really needs to hit it. Oh. And he just comes in short. He needed a little more speed coming into that so that he could have that great in-air form that he is known for and still nail the landing. Preset takeoff, wraps up the double full right away, gets a little bit behind. He's looking at it, but he's still trying to maximize his in-air form as much as he possibly can. So what he does is he pikes at the waist to try and bring it in. He's got a little bit of scissoring, a little bit of a split in his legs, so that's minor form break, but really what he's going to get nailed on is that landing. Man, he hit the ground so hard that moved the needle on the Richter scale.
Michael Rossi had a 111.31. Your leader is Lu Zhongqing, a 124.78. And Dylan Ferguson from the U.S., who really needed a result here in this one. We'll see what he comes away with. But what's on his mind right now is more about what that means for the Olympic Games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just so much disappointment. And as you said, with his last Olympic shot, he was there. He was going. And I mean, An appendectomy? Are you kidding?
Right.
Something like that to keep you out of the games is just heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
So he's got to feel a lot of disappointment.
6'8", 3'2".
And you know, Dylan Ferguson was the guy that I thought was a shoo-in at the beginning of the season.
Right.
I would have been like, who's going to go to the Olympics with Dylan Ferguson? Now it's going to be tight.
So again, a 68.32 for Dylan Ferguson. Leaves him on the outside looking in. Xiao Hong from China, 20 years old. It's been an up and down year for him. He started out okay, looked good, but ended with a 15th in Vita Lake, and then didn't do much in Beijing. Same thing there for him, around a 19th. So he's just a little bit of an enigma right now.
His coach told him to take a step down, so he felt like he needed to scrub some speed for this jump. Oh, and he goes over the bow. That step down may not have been the right call. He needed some more air.
That's a snap roll on the landing.
That was one extra flip at the end there. Doesn't count.
It only counts as a deduction.
Right.
So here he goes, wrapping up the double full. And it takes him a while to pick up the landing. I mean, he is not looking at the ground right now. He needs to start looking for that right away. He's still not looking for the ground. Finally, he picks it up on his last flip. That's part of the problem in and of itself. I mean, when you wrap up the double full, it's blind. You're wrapping a 720 and a backflip, so that's blind. But when you come out of that, you really want to pick up the ground as quick as you possibly can. If you don't, it can be tragic for your landing.
From China, 3 athletes left in the round at 12.
Judges are sharpening their pencils.
8 jumps before we go to the podium.
All right. So Zhao Hang awaiting his score. His compatriot has a 124.78, which is the lead right now. This will be a 78-73. Puts him in 8th. Not good enough. Dmitry Dushinsky, the 36-year-old from Belarus, who had a bronze medal at the 98 games in Nagano and a silver medal at the 2006 games. It dropped off a little for him after that, a 7th in 2002. That was early on, of course, and an 11th in Vancouver.
It's amazing that Dushinsky is still at it and at it so well. Okay, so the landing judges are looking at the initial impact as well as the exit. And he looks like he might have roughed himself up a little bit. That should be a deduction, but he roughed up his shoulder a little bit, it looks like.
Well, I think it happened on the crash at the very end. He's okay here.
Looks great.
And then he slid out a little at the ending, and he came down on that arm. Maybe he caught a rut at the very bottom. I don't know if we'll see the actual crash at the end. But, oh yeah, he just twists his arm around a touch right there.
Yeah, you got back seat just trying to ride the wheelie, and that's why you got to come up with possibly some better finish line antics. Get up there, kick the ski around, throw it in the sheath, kind of things that we used to see Trace Worthington do back in the day. Just do something like that, then ride a wheelie. I mean,
they're gonna check him out right now. It's just coaches and the medics are over there as well, just kind of taking a look at his shoulder a little.
After one of the best jumps of the day, the best jump that we've seen so far.
128.32.
He's roughed up after the best jump that we've seen so far. I hate seeing that.
Well, that puts him into the finals as long as he's healthy enough.
Yeah, the thing about a shoulder is that you really need that for aerials because you've got to, bring your arms up and down, way up over your head, bring them down at certain points within the flip. So it's important to have that shoulder mobility.
That takes us back up top for Anton Kushner of Belarus. Kushner is in the hunt. He is second right now in the overall standings with 217 points. He has a crystal globe within reach if he can put it together here.
So he's also doing a quadruple twisting, triple backflip. You can see the arm swing there. We've seen other athletes with the preset. Oh! And he goes over the bow. So Kushner ranks second in the world really needed this for World Cup standings. He's looking good for the Olympics, but if he wants to win the World Cup title, he really needed to land that and get into the super final. See the arm swing? This is for bigger liftoff, what they call a pop. Here he's going for his double full. That's the 720. Excellent separation. Sometimes he blends his tricks together. So for him, he had great separation in the air. But man, he just landed in that soft snow. I mean, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because you want the landings to be chopped up nicely. You want it to be nice and soft so that if you go by, you're not going to hurt yourself. But there's a fine line there between it getting too soft. And it seems like he came down and just cratered.
Oh, that is going to be a big deduction. You hear it from the PA announcer, but that's a bummer for him because he really needed to get into that final round if he wanted a crystal globe. So that will take him out of the mix, which almost, well, that pretty much locks it up for Liu Zhongqing of China. We won't say it's official yet, but I would say it's pretty darn close. That takes us to our final jumper. This is Guangpu, 23 years old, from China.
We've seen a lot of full, double full fulls in the small final. It's a big quad that tends to score because you don't have to worry about the double full in or the double full down. Oh.
Sticks it.
It seems like there has been a big variation between the athletes that are looking great in the air, and then we've got this enormous cliff in terms of the score where things just drop off from the 110 range down to like the 70s and the 80s because of the crashes. So either you're on or you're off today. That's my point.
That was huge. Kicker 5.
Here he is going for the full, wraps up double full. Eyes on the landing as he comes out of the double full. That's excellent. Knows exactly where he is. He is all psyched to nail the landing on that one.
More than a few of our athletes go down.
All right, so that wraps things up for the men's. Let's see what Xi Guangpu has thrown down. It will be a 125.67. So enough to get him in as well.
Into second place.
Goodness, so a last-minute move right there and a really nice jump for him. So it is the Shinsky, it is Xi Guangpu, Liu Zhongqing, and Alexei Grishkin. Those are your top four advancing on. Michael Rossi of the United States finishes down in sixth. But coming up, when we come back, the ladies will go for the globe and the final gold medal. Zhu Mengtao is your leader. Coming in, there are three others that can make a case for gold and Placid. Freestyle aerials on Universal Sports, Lake Placid, New York. And it is the final four for the ladies. Crystal globe on the line. This is Zhang Jin of China. She is your World Cup leader. Tied with Li Nina from China.
Zhang Jin throwing triple twisting, double backflip. She's going to need to really nail this in order to secure her spot at the top of the podium today, and then also the World Cup. She's been top three in each of the last three World Cups, so she's got some excellent momentum going into Sochi.
Sticks it.
Yeah, nice jump. Excellent looking jump. And what Zhang Jin tends to do when she needs to pull her feet down to the ground, she tends to pike at the waist. So it's a little more subtle, and it's a little bit different than what the judges are used to. Usually they see a knee bend when an athlete needs to take down the landing gear. But with her, watch her waist. She wraps up the double full, but as she comes down for the landing, she starts to pike at the waist. Great in-air mechanics, a bit of a leg split, but solid jump. Maximum score for this jump is a 105.75. Her coaches are ecstatic.
It's going to be interesting to see what Li Nina throws. So Li Nina edged her out in the round of 12 for the better score in the 93s. Zhang Jin was down in the 89 in that round of 12. So an 87.06 for her right now. That sets the bar.
That's solid. That's solid. But I mean, there are going to be some competitors that are coming up that are throwing triple backflips, so they've got much higher degree of difficulty. So that'll give them the degree of difficulty advantage at least.
The Aussie Daniel Scott, 24 years old. She's not in contention for the Crystal Globe.
And she spent her degree of difficulty getting to the round of 4 here for this super final. So she's doing a double twisting, double backflip. She's going to have to really nail this. And she did.
Yeah.
So the full has a maximum score of a 94.5. She's not going to get a 94.5, but she's going to be up there. If she can be even in the upper 80s, she could take over the lead. Preset takeoff, hands above her head. Feet absolutely glued together. And the thing about aerials is you want your shoulders and your hips to move in unison, because if you can do that, then you've got better core mechanics so that your twist is working throughout the flip much more efficiently.
Score to beat is the 87.06 from Zhang Jin. The coaches like it. She likes it. Is it enough for the 24-year-old to put herself in podium position?
She's really going to have to max out the score on that. It's a degree of difficulty issue for her. As she matures as a freestyle aerialist, she'll get more degree of difficulty under her belt. But you know what? She's going to at least be third today.
89.77. So that puts her in podium position. Doesn't change the battle for the globe just yet, though. We've got like a battle within a battle wrapped up in another battle.
A lot of battling going on out here.
Incredible. Li Nina.
And Li Nina, she's throwing a double full. She had the advantage of seeing Zhang Jin go before her. So that gave her a little idea of, what kind of speed should she have. She took a minor step up. She wants to make sure that she totally nails it, because she's going to need to do better than an 87, which her countrywoman had.
Oh, she sticks it. So they're dead even right now for the World Cup overall for the Crystal Globe with 256.
Zhang Jin had an 87. Zhang Jin had a much bigger split in her landing. Her legs were much further apart. You want to be nice and tight when you land. Let's watch the in-air form. A little bit of a lag between what her feet are doing and what her chest is doing. But you know what? She's totally straight in the air, and that's really the important thing here. She's keeping her feet nice and glued together. I like this jump more than Zhang Jin, so I think it'll be slightly better than an 87, but it's going to be tight.
I was going to ask you to call it, but I think you kind of already did. Oh, you can tell she's got that anticipation right now. Li Nina, the 30-year-old from China, the reigning silver medalist from Vancouver, needs at least an 87.07, and she's got it. A 91.29. That should just about take care of it.
Congratulations, Li Nina, World Cup champion. It's outstanding.
Well, she'll be going home from Placid with a little crystal. Xu Mengtao from China. She is fourth in the overall world rankings. It will not be enough, no matter what she does here, to get her out ahead of Li Nina.
Xu Mengtao's only 23 years old. She's been in 37 World Cups. She's podiumed in 26 of them. That's a 70% podium rate. Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good math, too. Look at you on the fly right there. She is the reigning world champion.
Lay double full full. Oh, wow. You know what? That's almost just for show. That's almost just to see, hey, can you do a lay double full full in variable conditions? She didn't land it, but that's a humongous jump.
So a huge celebration for Lee Nina, who comes away with not only the gold medal here, but with the crystal globe. Pretty nice.
Very nice. Xu Mengtao really bent up in the air, and that actually slows your twist down. She's trying to do the 720 in the second flip, and by having bent knees, it takes away from the center of gravity. You spin much more efficiently when everything is streamlined and you're just straight as a board up in the air. But, I mean, hats off to Xu Mengtao. I mean, that is a humongous jump. Triple twisting, triple backflip with the double full in the middle of it. I mean, she's one of the few women consistently throwing triples. She's got a lay tuck full, lay full full, lay double full full. That's quite a quiver.
She's going to need better than an 87.06 to get onto the podium here in Lake Placid. Right now, Lee Nina has the lead. Danielle Scott is in second from Australia. Zheng Jin has the 87.06 in third, and that will be a 55-11 for Xu Mengtao. And that takes her out of it, so it does go 1, 2, 3. Lee Nina with the 91.29 takes home the Crystal Globe as the overall World Cup winner. Danielle Scott finishes with an 89.77. The 24-year-old from Australia and the reigning world bronze medalist comes away with silver in Placid, and Zhang Jin with the 87.06 finds the podium for a bronze, but not enough for the overall. Back with the men's final when we come back. Grishin, the 34-year-old. He is the reigning Olympic gold medalist. Boy, a win here would certainly put him in the right momentum state to do good things over in Sochi.
He's calling for a lay double full full, so he's just laying out the first flip, wrapping up 720 in the second flip, and doing a 360 in the last flip. Ooh, that is nice and buttery. Textbook in-air form, as Alexei Grishin is known for. He just doesn't have huge degree of difficulty with that particular jump. Maximum possible score for that's a 125.25. So he went for the higher degree of difficulty jump to get to this point. But you know what? This has kind of been working for him. I mean, he got the podium result at Deer Valley doing the exact same thing. So he has a little bit of a knee bend right here. But such good in-air mechanics. And I mean, his landings are almost as if he never even left the ground, even though he just came from 50 feet up in the air.
As we wait for his score, let's talk about the globe picture right now. You got two guys contending for it at the top. Liu Zhongqing, who's got 228 points, and Anton Kushner from Belarus, who's got 217. Kushner needs to beat Liu Zhongqing by 2 place points in order to take the globe.
Can he do it? Punch it in the scores right now. Belarus.
And with Kushner not being in this, it puts him at a huge disadvantage, which I said back in the other one, it pretty much means that Liu Zhongqing, barring anything catastrophic, has wrapped up the Crystal Globe. So Grishin opens things up with a 108.96.
108.96 is the score to beat for Alexei Grishin.
3 athletes left to go.
Not a bad score. It's solid, you know. I think that we're going to see some much higher scores as we go through the rounds. I mean, you had to have a 122 and change to get into this round. So that score, unless people are not landing anymore, is going to kind of put him down towards the bottom of the pack.
Liu Zhongqing pretty much has the Crystal Globe wrapped up. Just has to put this down.
Took a step up. They're concerned about the speed with this new snow falling.
Bronze medalist from Vancouver.
And that is one of the hardest quadruple twisting triple backflips to perform. He did a full, double full. Bringing down the landing gear when your landing is blind is extremely difficult. And that's what happens when you're doing a 720 in a backflip. It's difficult to pick up the landing.
Sending it off kicker 5.
Well, take a bow because he is going to come away with the crystal globe.
Excellent in-air form, great separation, gets into his double full a touch early, but hey, that's being extremely nitpicky.
Massive amplitude.
Knows exactly where he is, wraps up the double full. You can see he can't see the landing. That's just the nature of the jump. Solid landing.
Because of the impact,
I've heard some people diss on some of the Chinese saying, hey, they can't ski. They're great aerialists, but they can't ski. But I'll tell you what, you've got to be a great skier to deal with these soft conditions here tonight and land a jump from 50 feet up.
Yeah, you got to know how to navigate yourself around a little bit on skis. That is for sure. And Liu Zhongqing, the 28-year-old, with a huge score, 123.53. So he wants to take away another gold medal in addition to that crystal globe. It's all about momentum right now for these guys as well. Huge momentum going into the games in Sochi, just 3 weeks away. This being the last competition, you might as well throw it down. Back up. Guangpu, the 23-year-old from China, was 7th at the 2010 games in Vancouver.
It's calling for a double full, full full. So for your new schoolers out there, this is like a triple court 1440.
Nice. Way to relate it.
Wraps up double full. Nails it. Absolutely nailed it. Now, the double full in, meaning that that's the trick that he performs right off the jump, has the same degree of difficulty as the double full down, where you do a double full bringing down the landing gear. So that's a 135.75 maximum possible score. And that's going to put him well up into the 120s. Great in-air form. Great twist mechanics. He has to bring in his arms so that he can get the double full in. Excellent separation. You can really see it upright facing forward in between each flip. And the Chinese coaches are happy. You know why? Because he's not only because he stomped the landing, but because they dominate the world of aerials.
And we are getting right now information that Dmitry Dushinsky did injure himself. He will not jump. He will not jump in this final, so that locks it up, and basically that means he will finish off the podium down in 4th. So now it's just a matter of Guangpu taking the 127.15, and that'll give him the win over Liu Zhongqing. So Liu Zhongqing will come away with the crystal globe. Guangpu does what he can try to get himself up there, but it will not be enough to overtake for the crystal globe, and he comes away with the gold. Here, though, for this event, Zhongqing finishes in 2nd with silver, and Alexei Grishin will finish in 3rd with the bronze. Again, Dmitry Dushinsky hurt himself bad enough on that celebration gone wrong in the finish to take him out of jumping in the final. Not sure what that means for the Olympics, but you get a look at your podium, and it is Guangpu from China with the gold. Liu came away with the silver for Australia, and Zhang Xin came away with the bronze. Let's talk quickly what's going to happen at the Olympic Games in 2 weeks.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see. And one of the questions will be, how many athletes do the Chinese put on top of the podium? And then from there on, we'll just see how many other people can squeak in. There's going to be some dark horses there. I really thought Ashley Caldwell would be the wild card going into Sochi. It would have been nice if she would have had a better jump here today, but unfortunately her feet got out in front of her and she didn't finish up quite the way she would have liked. But Zhu Mengtao, in my opinion, has the deepest arsenal of tricks for the women, so that makes her one of the front runners going into the Olympics.
All right, so the ladies, it will be dominated by the Chinese, but there are a couple of wild horses that can jump into the mix. A fireworks show in Lake Placid amongst the snow. Absolutely gorgeous. They put on a great performance always whenever they host an event in that historic Olympic city. And now a look at the men. Alexi Grisham again finishes in third with that 108.96. Liu Zhongqin finishes in second with the silver, but takes the overall crystal globe. And Guangpu from China as well, Zhongqin's countryman, comes away with the gold at this event. Let's talk men Olympic Games.
Yeah, I mean, Guangpu, he has, similarly to Zhu Mingtao on the women's side, he has a huge arsenal of tricks as well, because he's throwing double full, double full. I've seen him perform that at Deer Valley earlier this season. So that's a twisting triple backflip. And going into Sochi, you're going to want to throw your hardest tricks. And he's one of the few guys out there fairly consistently doing the hardest trick in the book.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, it is the Olympic Games. Anything can happen. You got to bring your A game. And in a sport like this, where it is a judge sport, anything can happen.
And you want to have momentum going into the games as well. And Guangpu has that. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out in Sochi.
All right, he comes away with the first place here. Again, a great score for him, a 127.15. Gives him the win on the last guy to go. He was 7th at the games in 2010. He hopes for more good things going into this Olympics. In second place, but coming away again with the crystal globe, was Liu Zhongqin. He was the bronze medalist from the 2010 Vancouver Olympic Games. He had a 123.53. And Alexi Grisham, the reigning gold medalist, finished with a 108.96. He got himself on a podium, which is good momentum for the 34-year-old from Belarus to get himself into the right mind frame heading into the Olympic Games. For Craig Rodman, I'm Nick Gismondi saying so long from Lake Placid.